The bell rang at Hambit High School. Students rushed to their seats as Teacher Yoon walked in with a new girl. "Class, we have a new student today," Teacher Yoon said. "This is Ju-woo Kim. Please make her feel welcome." Ju-woo stood still, her face blank. She wore a plain school uniform and kept her black hair in a simple ponytail. Her eyes, dark and deep, seemed to look through people rather than at them. "You may sit at the empty desk by the window," Teacher Yoon said. Ju-woo walked to her seat without a word. She moved with strange grace, like a cat. Some students watched her with interest. Others, like Do-hyun Park, watched with something else in their eyes. Do-hyun was the class leader. Tall and handsome, his father owned a big company. He was used to getting what he wanted. Right now, he wanted to know more about this quiet new girl who acted so different. During lunch, Ju-woo sat alone. She ate quickly, like someone used to having little time. When other students came near, she tensed up slightly. "Hey, new girl," Do-hyun called out as he walked over with his friends. "Where are you from?" Ju-woo looked up. For a split second, something cold flashed in her eyes. "Seoul," she said softly. "I moved back recently." "Back? So you lived somewhere else?" Do-hyun pressed. "Yes." Ju-woo offered nothing more. Do-hyun frowned. No one ever gave him such short answers. "What's wrong?" "Can't talk." Do-hyun's friend, Shunho, laughed. Ju-woo's hand tightened around her chopsticks. Then she relaxed and smiled politely. "I'm just shy," she said. That night, Ju-woo returned to her small apartment. She lived alone, something rare for a high school student. The apartment was nearly empty. Just a bed, a desk, and a locked metal box under her bed. She sat on her bed and looked at her hands. 5 years ago, these hands had commanded starships. They had pointed at star systems and said, "Attack there." They had signed orders that killed millions. Ju-woo closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw burning planets. She heard the cheers of her soldiers as Commander Jai led them to another victory. She remembered how small she had been when they took her from her home planet, how they had trained her to be perfect, emotionless, deadly. But that was before she understood what she was doing, before she ran away. Her phone buzzed. A news alert showed strange lights in the sky over Seoul. Ju-woo's heart beat faster. She checked the special device hidden in her metal box. No signals yet. False alarm. The next day at school, Do-hyun and his friends surrounded Ju-woo's desk before class. "We checked, new girl. There's no record of you at any other school in Seoul," Do-hyun said. Ju-woo kept her face calm. "My records were private. My father worked for the government." "Liar," Do-hyun said. He knocked her books off her desk. "What are you hiding?" For a moment, Ju-woo's body shifted into a fighting stance. Her mind calculated 5 ways to take down everyone around her. Then she forced herself to look scared and bent down to pick up her books. "Please leave me alone," she whispered. Do-hyun laughed, but a girl named Mina stepped forward. "Stop it, Do-hyun," Mina said. She helped Ju-woo pick up her books. "Why do you care about her records anyway?" "Mind your own business, Mina," Do-hyun snapped, but he walked away. "Thank you," Ju-woo said to Mina. "It's nothing. Do-hyun thinks he owns this school." Mina smiled. "I'm Mina Lee. Want to eat lunch together?" Ju-woo almost said no. Getting close to anyone was dangerous. But something about Mina's kind eyes made Ju-woo nod. As they walked to class, Ju-woo noticed a janitor watching her too closely. Her senses, trained on 100 battlefields, tingled with warning. That night, Ju-woo dreamed of the last planet she conquered. In her dream, she was back in her commander's uniform, watching cities burn from her ship. But when she looked down at Earth from space, she saw Hambit High School in the targeting computer. She woke up sweating. "Never again," she whispered in an alien language. Then she switched back to Korean. "Never again." 3 weeks passed at Hambit High School. Ju's life fell into a routine, but it was not a happy one. Every day, Do-yeon found new ways to make her life hard. Today, Ju-woo opened her locker to find her books soaked with water. She heard Do-yeon and his friends laughing behind her. "Oops, did your locker have a leak?" Do-yeon smirked. Maybe the new girl should go back where she came from. Ju-woo said nothing. She took out her wet books and walked to class. In her mind, she remembered commanding officers who had challenged her authority. She had them thrown out of airlocks. One word from her, and Do-yeon would be nothing but a memory. But she was not Commander Ji anymore. She was just Ju-woo Kim now. "Hey, are you okay?" Minna caught up with her in the hallway. "I saw what Do-yeon did." "I'm fine," Ju-woo said. "The books will dry." Minna frowned. "You never get angry." "If I were you, I'd scream at him." Ju-woo almost smiled. Getting angry doesn't help. During math class, Ju-woo finished all the problems quickly. The teacher, Mr. Kang, looked surprised. "Ju-woo, these equations are college level. How did you solve them so fast?" Ju-woo froze. She had forgotten to hide her skills. On her home planet, she had learned advanced mathematics by age 8. It was needed for planning battle strategies. "My father taught me," she lied. He was good at math. After class, Do-yeon blocked her path. "So the weird girl is a math genius too." Ju-woo tried to walk around him, but his friends formed a circle around her. "We don't like show-offs," Junho said, pushing her shoulder. Ju-woo's body tensed. Her mind calculated the exact force needed to break Junho's arm. She could disable all 5 boys in under 10 seconds. Instead, she let herself fall to the floor when pushed. "Leave her alone." Minna pushed through the circle. "You're all pathetic, ganging up on one person." Do-yeon glared at Minna, but walked away. His family was powerful, but Minna's father was a police captain. Even Do-yeon didn't want that trouble. "Why do you let them treat you like that?" Minna asked as she helped Ju-woo up. "You could fight back." "Fighting makes things worse," Ju-woo said quietly. That night, Ju-woo had another nightmare. She was back on her command ship. Her officers awaited her orders to fire on a planet that had refused to surrender. Their leaders made their choice, Ju-woo said coldly. "Begin the attack." She watched cities burn from orbit. But when she looked closer at the people running from the fires, they all had Mina's face. Ju-woo woke up screaming. She sat in her bed, breathing hard. The clock showed 3:15 a.m. She went to the bathroom and splashed water on her face. In the mirror, she saw herself wearing her commander's uniform, dark and imposing with medals across the chest. She blinked, and it was gone. Just Ju-woo in simple pajamas. The next day at lunch, Minna invited Ju-woo to sit with her friends. "This is Ju-woo," Minna told them. "She's in my class." Ju-woo nodded politely. She wasn't used to groups. As Commander Jai, people feared her. They never just chatted with her. "Is it true you solved all of Mr. Kang's bonus problems?" asked Yuna, one of Minna's friends. "He's been giving those for years, and no one ever gets them all." Before Ju-woo could answer, someone knocked her lunch tray over. Rice and soup spilled across the table and onto her uniform. "Sorry, my hand slipped," Do-yeon said with a fake smile. His friends laughed. For a split second, Ju-woo's eyes flashed with a cold light. Her hand twitched toward a hidden pocket where she once kept a plasma dagger. Then she took a deep breath. "It's fine," she said, her voice too calm. "I'll clean it up." As she wiped up the mess, Minna watched her with curious eyes. "You're not like anyone I've ever met," Minna said later as they walked home. "Sometimes you seem so old, like you've seen terrible things." Ju-woo looked at her new friend. For a moment, she wanted to tell Minna everything. About the stars, about the wars, about running away. Instead, she said, "We all have secrets." That night, the strange janitor who had been watching Ju-woo made a call from a device that was not from Earth. "I think I found her," he said in an alien language. "The lost commander." Send confirmation team. The school trip to Mount Buchan was supposed to be fun. Students chatted happily on the bus, excited for a day away from classes. Juwoo sat quietly next to Mina, watching the city fade into green mountains. Have you ever been hiking before? Mina asked. Juwoo nodded. Long ago. She didn't mention that her hiking had been survival training on harsh alien planets, running through forests while being hunted by her trainers. When they arrived, Teacher Yoon split the students into groups. Unfortunately, Juwoo and Mina were put in the same group as Do-hyun and his friends. Stay close to your group, Teacher Yoon called out. Follow the marked paths. The day went well at first. The autumn air was cool, and the mountain paths were pretty. Juwoo enjoyed the peaceful forest. It reminded her of hiding places she had found during her escape 5 years ago. After lunch, Do-hyun suggested a detour. This way looks more interesting, he said, pointing to a smaller path. Let's check it out. But Teacher Yoon said to stay on the marked paths. Mina argued. Don't be boring, Do-hyun said. We'll be back before anyone notices. He started walking, and his friends followed. Juwoo didn't want to go, but Mina sighed and went after them. We shouldn't lose sight of them, Mina said. They might get lost. The path grew steeper and narrower. Soon they reached a cliff edge with a beautiful view of the forest below. But the edge looked unstable. We should go back, Juwoo said. Her trained eyes saw the danger in the crumbling rock. Scared, new girl, Do-hyun laughed. He went closer to the edge. The view is amazing. Suddenly, the ground shifted. A small rock slide started, and Do-hyun slipped. He cried out, grabbing a tree root at the edge of the cliff. His legs dangled over the drop. Help, he yelled, his face now white with fear. His friends froze in panic. Mina rushed forward, but Juwoo grabbed her arm. The edge won't hold your weight, Juwoo said. Then she moved. In one smooth motion, Juwoo was at the cliff edge. She braced her feet on stable rock and reached down. Her hand locked around Do-hyun's wrist with surprising strength. Don't move, she commanded. Her voice was different now, deeper, used to being obeyed. With one strong pull, she lifted Do-hyun up as if he weighed nothing. She set him safely on solid ground, then stepped back, realizing her mistake. Everyone stared at her. No normal girl could have lifted a boy Do-hyun's size so easily. How did you? Shunho began. We should return to the group, Juwoo said, her voice back to its quiet tone. But Do-hyun, embarrassed about being saved by the girl he bullied, was angry. He blocked her path. You're a freak, he said. What are you really? Juwoo tried to walk around him, but Do-hyun grabbed her arm. It was the wrong move. Years of combat training took over. Juwoo twisted free and had Do-hyun on his knees in one fluid movement. Her eyes were cold, her stance perfect. Never touch me again, she said, but not in Korean. The words came out in the harsh language of the Galactic Command. Everyone stared in shock. Juwoo released Do-hyun and stepped back, horrified at her slip. Shunho had his phone out. He had recorded everything. What language was that? Mina asked, her eyes wide. I don't know what came over me, Juwoo said. I'm sorry. The walk back was silent. By evening, Shunho had shared the video with other students. Juwoo's strange language and fighting skills were the only thing anyone talked about on the ride home. In a government building in Seoul, Agent Thuk watched the video on his computer. He rewound and listened to Juwoo's alien words again. Then he picked up his phone. Sir, I think we found something, he said. Remember those signals we detected 5 years ago? I believe we just found their source. Back at her apartment, Juwoo packed her emergency bag. Her cover was blown. It was time to run again. Then her phone rang. It was Mina. Juwoo, are you okay? People are saying crazy things about you. Juwoo's hand tightened on the phone. For the first time in 5 years, she had made a real friend. Could she really leave without saying goodbye? Juwoo didn't run that night. Something kept her in Seoul. Maybe it was Mina's worried voice, or maybe she was tired of running. By morning, the video had spread beyond the school. Local news picked it up, calling it a strange case of a super-strong girl who spoke an unknown language. At school, students whispered as Ju-woo walked by. Some stayed far away from her. Others tried to get close, curious about the quiet girl who was suddenly famous. The video has over 1 million views, Minna told her during lunch. They sat alone in a corner of the cafeteria. Are you okay? Yes. Ju-woo lied. She was not okay. Her training told her to leave immediately. Every minute she stayed put her in more danger. 3 tables away, a man in a suit watched them. Agent Huck looked like a normal visitor, but Ju-woo had spotted him right away. Government agent, probably tracking the video. But he wasn't the only new face at school. That morning, 2 transfer students had arrived, a boy named Kwon and a girl named Sum. They looked normal, but Ju-woo noticed things others didn't. The way they scanned rooms, their perfect posture, how they never seemed to blink. They weren't human. Ju-woo knew it instantly. After school, Ju-woo told Mina to go home without her. Then she took a long route through the city, checking for followers. She found 3, Agent Cook, and the 2 transfer students. Ju-woo led them to an empty park and stopped. "You can come out now," she said loudly. Agent Cook stepped from behind a tree, looking surprised. "Kim Ju-woo. I'm Agent Cook from the Korean Intelligence Service. I'd like to ask you some questions." "You're not the only one following me," Ju-woo said. "There are 2 more." As if on cue, Kwon and Sumi walked into the clearing. They no longer looked like students. Their eyes glowed slightly, and they moved with inhuman grace. "Hello, Commander G," Kwon said in the galactic language. "You've been hard to find." Agent Cook's hand moved to his gun. "What's going on? Who are these people?" "They're not people," Ju-woo said, "and they're here to kill me or capture me." Sumi smiled, showing teeth that were too sharp. "The Galactic Council has a price on your head, Commander. Dead or alive. Preferably alive, so you can stand trial for desertion." "I'm not going back," Ju-woo said. Kwon laughed. "You don't have a choice. This primitive planet can't protect you." "This primitive planet is my home," Ju-woo said. "I was born here before I was taken." Agent Huck looked confused but kept his gun ready. "Whatever is happening, these 2 are on Korean soil. They follow our laws here." Sumi moved faster than human eyes could follow. She knocked Agent Cook down and took his gun. But before she could use it, Ju-woo was there, her hand gripping Sumi's wrist. "Run," Ju-woo told Agent Cook. "Call backup. Tell them it's an alien incursion." "Alien?" Agent Huck stared. "Go." Ju-woo pushed him away just as Kwon attacked. The fight was like nothing Earth had seen before. Ju-woo moved with impossible speed, matching her attackers move for move. Trees cracked as bodies plunged into them. The ground shook with each impact. Ju-woo was rusty after 5 years of hiding her skills, but she had been the best warrior in 3 star systems. She broke Kwon's arm and threw Sumi 50 meters into the lake. Breathing hard, Ju-woo turned to find Agent Cook still there, recording everything on his phone. "What are you?" he asked. Before she could answer, her phone rang. It was Mina. "Ju-woo, something terrible is happening. There are strange people at my house asking about you. They don't look right." Their eyes. Ju-woo's blood went cold. "Mina, listen carefully. Hide. Don't open the door for anyone. I'm coming right now." She turned to Agent Cook. "I need your help. My friend is in danger." "Why should I trust you?" "Because those 2 weren't alone," Ju-woo said. "There's a scout ship in orbit. Soon, there will be more hunters. And if they can't find me, they'll use anyone I care about as bait." High above Earth, a small ship hovered beyond the range of human radar. Inside, a commander looked at images of Ju-woo fighting. "So it is her," he said. "Prepare the landing craft. I want boots on the ground by morning. And the human girl she protects? His officer asked. Take her. The great Commander G always had one weakness. She cared too much. Jiwoo and Agent Guk raced through Seoul in his black government car. The evening sky was dark with rain clouds. My team is heading to your friend's house, Agent Huck said, speeding through a red light. But we need to know what we're facing. Hunters, Jiwoo said. The light soldiers trained to track and capture targets across the galaxy. You really expect me to believe you're an alien? I'm human, Jiwoo said. Born on Earth. Taken when I was 6 years old. Trained to be a weapon. They turned onto Mina's street and saw the trouble right away. 2 black vans blocked the road. Men in dark clothes surrounded Mina's house. Those aren't my agents, Huck said. Jiwoo opened the glove box and found Huck's backup gun. Hey, he protested. You can't fight them with normal weapons, she said. Stay here and wait for your team. Jiwoo didn't wait for his answer. She slipped out of the car and moved through the shadows. Rain began to fall, helping to hide her. Inside Mina's house, 3 hunters had cornered the family in the living room. Mina's father, the police captain, lay unconscious on the floor. Her mother hugged Mina, trying to shield her. Where is Commander G? Asked the lead hunter. His skin looked human, but his movements were too smooth. I don't know who that is, Mina said bravely. The girl you call Jiwoo, he said. Tell us where she lives, and we'll leave you alone. I won't tell you anything, Mina said. A hunter raised his hand, which started to glow with energy. Then you're of no use to us. The front window shattered as Jiwoo crashed through it. She fired Huck's gun at the hunter's hand, causing his energy weapon to explode. The other hunters turned to face her, drawing their own weapons. Run, Jiwoo shouted to Mina and her mother. What followed was chaos. Jiwoo moved faster than human eyes could follow, disarming the hunters one by one. But there were too many. A blast hit her shoulder, spinning her around. Mina watched in shock as her quiet friend fought like a trained soldier. When a hunter grabbed Mina as a shield, something changed in Jiwoo's eyes. Release her, Jiwoo commanded in a voice that echoed with power. Surrender, Commander, or the human dies, the hunter said. Jiwoo lowered her weapon. Let her go, and I'll come quietly. No, Jiwoo, Mina cried. Just then, the front door burst open. Agent Cook and his team rushed in, firing at the hunters. The distraction gave Jiwoo the moment she needed. She moved in a blur, freeing Mina and knocking out the hunter. Get them out, Jiwoo told Hyuk, pointing at Mina's family. As the agents led the family out, the lead hunter laughed from where he lay injured. You can't save them all, Commander. The main ship is coming. This planet will burn like all the others. Outside, Agent Puck got Mina and her parents to safety. Medics checked their injuries. Mina pushed them away. Where's Jiwoo? She demanded. They found her standing in the rain, looking up at the sky. The clouds were lit with strange lights. It's starting, Jiwoo said when she saw them. They're coming for me. Who are you really? Mina asked, tears mixing with rain on her face. Jiwoo looked at her friend, then at Agent Guk. The time for hiding was over. My birth name was Ji-hyun, she began. I was born in Busan. When I was 6, aliens took me from my bed. They took many children from many worlds. Why? Agent Cook asked. To train us. To make us perfect weapons. Jiwoo's voice was hollow. By age 12, I was leading my first battle. By 16, I commanded a fleet. They called me Commander G. You conquered planets, Mina whispered. Jiwoo nodded, shame in her eyes. 3 star systems fell to my forces. Billions died because of my orders. Then why did you run? Agent Hook asked. Because I saw what I really was, a child made into a monster. Jiwoo's hands shook. I couldn't do it anymore. So I escaped, came back to Earth, and hid. Mina stepped forward, and took Juwoo's hand. You're not a monster. You were a victim too. Juwoo looked surprised at the touch. You don't hate me. You saved my life, Minna said. That's who you are now. In the distance, sirens wailed. More government vehicles approached. I can't run anymore, Juwoo said. The hunters will keep coming. They'll hurt anyone close to me. Then we fight, Agent Huck said. But we need to know everything you know about them. Juwoo looked up as the strange lights in the sky grew brighter. We don't have much time. At a secret government base outside Seoul, Juwoo sat in a plain room with white walls. Across from her were Agent Guk and his boss, Director Kang. Minna sat beside Juwoo, refusing to leave her friend's side. So the world governments know about aliens? Minna asked, still trying to understand everything. Director Kang nodded. For over 30 years, we've had small contacts, crashed ships, signals, but nothing like this. They're coming in force now, Juwoo said. Because of me. Agent Guk placed a laptop on the table, showing satellite images. A large object was moving toward Earth, hidden just beyond the moon. Our scientists say it's at least 2 kilometers long, he said. Is that the ship you mentioned? Juwoo looked at the blurry image and felt cold. No, that's much worse. That's a battle cruiser. What does that mean for us? Director Kang asked. It means they're not just sending hunters anymore. They're sending an invasion force. The room went quiet. Director Kang looked pale. Can we fight them? He finally asked. Juwoo shook her head. Not with Earth's current technology. Your best weapons would barely damage their shields. Then what do we do? Minna asked, her voice small. Before Juwoo could answer, the door opened. A soldier rushed in. Sir, we're getting a transmission. It's broadcasting on all frequencies worldwide. They hurried to the command center, where a large screen showed snow and static. Then a face appeared. It was alien yet human-like, with gray skin and eyes that glowed blue. People of Earth, the alien said in perfect English. I am Commander Tak of the Galactic Fleet. We come seeking a fugitive. The war criminal known to you as Juwoo Kim, to us as Commander G. Juwoo froze. She knew that face. Tak had been her lieutenant, her most trusted officer. Surrender her to us within 48 Earth hours, Tak continued. Failure to comply will result in military action. The screen went black. Alarms began to sound throughout the base. Similar messages are appearing worldwide. Sir, a technician said, in all languages. Can they really attack the whole planet? Director Kang asked Juwoo. Yes, Juwoo said simply. I've seen Tak destroy worlds before. He was my student. We should give you to them, one official said, pointing at Juwoo. Save our planet. No. Minna stepped between them. They'll kill her. And after they kill me, they'll take your planet anyway, Juwoo said quietly. Tak doesn't leave witnesses, and Earth has resources they want. Agent Tak studied her face. You know him well. I trained him, made him my second in command. Juwoo's voice was hollow. When I escaped, he probably took my place. Then you know how he thinks, Director Kang said. You know his weaknesses. Juwoo didn't answer right away. Memories filled her mind. Battles planned, worlds conquered, Tak always at her side, learning, watching. I do, she finally said. But fighting him would mean becoming Commander G again. I swore I would never be that person again. Minna took her hand. You wouldn't be that person. You'd be protecting people, not conquering them. Juwoo looked at her friend. There's something I haven't told you, something I haven't told anyone. She rolled up her sleeve to show a small metal device embedded in her arm. What is that? Agent Huck asked. A beacon, a way to call for help. Juwoo's eyes were sad. I've never used it because the ones who would answer are almost as dangerous as Tak. Who are they? Director Kang asked. The Resistance. Fighters against the Galactic Empire. I helped them before I came to Earth. Juwoo's voice grew stronger. They might come if I call, but they'll expect me to lead them. The room was silent again. Finally, Agent Huck spoke. Earth has no choice. We need your help, Commander. The title felt wrong after 5 years. Juwoo looked at Mina, at the officials, at the satellite image of Tuk's ship growing larger as it approached Earth. I'll help you, she said, but not as Commander Je, as Juwoo Kim, as an Earthling. She pressed the beacon on her arm. It glowed blue, sending a signal into space. Now we prepare, Juwoo said. We have little time. Tak will not wait 48 hours. That was a lie. He's already launching his first attack ships. How do you know? Director Kang asked. Because it's what I would have done, Juwoo said. And he learned everything from me. The next 24 hours were a blur of activity. The secret base became a war room. Juwoo stood at the center, teaching Earth's best soldiers and scientists things they never imagined. Their ships have a weak spot here, she explained, pointing to a diagram she had drawn. Under the main engines. Their shields are thinnest there. Military leaders from around the world watched through video calls. They had questions, doubts, fears, but when Juwoo spoke, they listened. She didn't speak like a high school girl anymore. She spoke like someone who had won 100 battles. Mina watched from the side of the room, hardly recognizing her friend. Is your resistance coming? Agent Cook asked during a break. Juwoo checked the small device in her arm. They received my signal, but I don't know if they'll arrive in time. Director Kang brought more bad news. We've lost contact with 3 satellites. Tak's scouts are taking out our eyes in the sky. He's following standard invasion protocol, Juwoo said. First blind the enemy, then strike key military locations. The door opened, and a surprising figure walked in. Do-hyun, the school bully. With him was his father, Mr. Park. What is he doing here? Mina asked, standing protectively near Juwoo. Mr. Park owns Korea's largest technology company. Director Kang explained. We need his factories. Do-hyun looked uncomfortable, avoiding Juwoo's eyes. His father stepped forward. The government has told me everything. Mr. Park said, my factories are at your service. What do you need us to build? Juwoo studied him, then nodded. With your technology, we can make shield disruptors. Not powerful enough to stop their ships, but enough to give your missiles a chance. As engineers took notes on Juwoo's designs, Do-hyun finally approached her. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for how I treated you. Juwoo looked at the boy who had made her school life miserable. Once, she would have enjoyed seeing him afraid. Now she just felt tired. Help us build these weapons, she said. That's apology enough. Later, in a quiet moment, Mina found Juwoo alone, looking at the stars through a window. You're different when you're with the military people, Mina said. More confident. That's who I was trained to be, Juwoo said. A leader, a weapon. Is it hard? Going back to that after trying to leave it behind. Juwoo turned from the window. Yes, part of me hates it, but part of me misses it. Mina finished. Is good at it, Juwoo corrected. I never wanted to be a conqueror, but I was good at strategy, at fighting, at leading. Mina smiled sadly. And now you'll use those skills to protect us instead. An alarm blared through the base. They rushed to the command center, where a new satellite image showed multiple smaller ships leaving Tak's cruiser. First wave, Juwoo said. Fighter ships. They'll target military bases. Our jets are scrambling. Director Kang said. But without your shield disruptors, they don't stand a chance. Juwoo finished. She turned to Mr. Park. How soon can your factories deliver? First batch in 6 hours, he said. Not enough for all aircraft. Then we need pilots willing to fly suicide missions, Juwoo said, to buy time. The room fell silent. Then a voice spoke. I'll fly. It was Do-hyun's father. I was a fighter pilot before I built my company. Others volunteered too. Veteran pilots, test pilots, anyone who could fly. As they prepared the first defense, Agent Fuck received a message. "Something's entering our atmosphere," he said. "But it's not from Tak's ship." Jiwoo checked her beacon, which was pulsing rapidly. "The Resistance," she said, hope in her voice for the first time. They came. On screens around the world, people looked up to see bright lights cutting through the sky. Not Tak's forces, but ships of different designs, smaller, faster. One landed at the base an hour later. The door opened, and a tall, blue-skinned alien stepped out. He wore battle armor and carried advanced weapons. When he saw Jiwoo, he knelt. "Commander Ji," he said, "the Resistance answers your call. 300 ships, at your command." Jiwoo took a deep breath. "Rise, Captain. We have work to do." For the first time since coming to Earth, she stood tall, her shoulders straight, her eyes clear. She was still Jiwoo, but now she had a purpose for her skills. "Tak thinks he knows how I fight," she told the gathered forces. "He's wrong. This time, I'm not fighting to conquer. I'm fighting to protect." Dawn broke over a changed Earth. In every major city, people looked up to see strange lights in the sky. Two fleets faced each other in Earth's atmosphere, Tak's invasion force and the smaller resistance ships. In the command center, Jiwoo stood before a 3D map of the battle. She wore a simple black uniform given to her by the Resistance. The shy high school girl was gone. In her place stood a commander. "Tak will attack in 3 waves," she explained. "First fighters to test our defenses, then bombers to hit key targets, then ground troops." "Can we stop them?" Director Kang asked. "Not all of them," Jiwoo said honestly, "but we can hurt them enough that Tak will have to face me directly. That's our goal." Across the room, technicians worked with Resistance aliens to install new technology. Earth's jets were being fitted with shield disruptors built in Mr. Park's factories. It wasn't enough to win, but it might be enough to survive. Mina stood next to Jiwoo, looking at the map. "This was your life before, planning battles." Jiwoo nodded, but never to defend, always to take. A signal flashed on the screens. "They're moving," someone shouted. Tak's fighters descended toward Earth, hundreds of them, heading for military bases around the world. "Launch all aircraft," Jiwoo ordered. Resistance ships formed defensive groups over major cities. The battle began. On screens around the room, they watched Earth's jets meet the alien fighters. The shield disruptors worked. Some alien ships exploded when hit by missiles, but there were too many of them. "Shoal defense line is breaking," an officer reported. "Send Resistance Group 2 to support," Jiwoo said, her voice calm despite the chaos. For hours, the battle raged above Earth's skies. Alien ships fell, but so did human jets. Cities took damage as some fighters got through. Then came a report that made Jiwoo's heart stop. "Commander, a ship has broken through to the base." Security cameras showed a small craft landing just outside. The door opened, and a tall figure stepped out. Even through the grainy footage, Jiwoo recognized him immediately. "Tak," she whispered. He walked straight toward the base entrance, ignoring the guards who fired at him. Energy shields glowed around his body, stopping the bullets. "He's coming for me," Jiwoo said. "As I planned." "You wanted this?" Agent Huck asked, alarmed. "It's our only chance," Jiwoo said. "Tak thinks he knows me, knows how I fight. But he's never faced me in personal combat. His pride won't let him refuse." "You can't face him alone," Mina protested. But Jiwoo was already moving toward the exit. "Keep the battle going. This won't take long." In the base courtyard, Jiwoo waited. The doors opened, and Tak walked in. He looked just as she remembered, tall, gray-skinned, with glowing blue eyes. He wore the commander's uniform that once had been hers. "Gee," he said, using her old name. "You look diminished. Living among these primitives has weakened you." "Hello, Tak," Ju said calmly. Still following my old tactics, I see. Not very creative. Tak's eyes narrowed. I improved them. I've conquered twice the systems you did. And yet you came all this way just for me, Ju said. Why? The Empire has other enemies. Because you betrayed everything. Tak suddenly shouted. You were the best of us, my teacher, and you ran away like a coward. Ju saw it then, the hurt behind his anger. Tak had looked up to her, and she had left without a word. I wasn't a coward, she said. I finally saw the truth. We weren't bringing order. We were bringing death. Tak drew his weapon, an energy sword that hummed with power. Enough talk. The Empire wants you alive, but I'll settle for your head. Ju drew no weapon. Instead, she shifted into a fighting stance. You always did rely too much on your toys, Tak. With a roar, he attacked. Their fight was like a dance, too fast for human eyes to follow completely. Tak slashed with his sword while Ju ducked and weaved, striking at his weak points. From inside the base, Minna and the others watched on security cameras. She's not even armed, Minna said, horrified. She doesn't need to be, the blue-skinned resistance captain said with awe. There's a reason she was the youngest commander in history. The fight between Ju and Tak shook the ground. Walls cracked as they slammed each other into concrete. Windows shattered from the force of their blows. Tak's energy sword sliced through everything it touched, but it couldn't touch Ju. She moved like water, always just beyond his reach. Each time he attacked, she countered perfectly. Stand and fight properly. Tak shouted in frustration. Where is the commander Ji I knew? She's gone, Ju said, dodging another strike. I'm not that person anymore. Tak laughed coldly. Then I'll kill the weak thing you've become. He pressed a button on his wrist. His body began to glow with extra power. He moved faster now, his strikes coming from all sides. Finally, one caught Ju across the shoulder, burning her skin. She fell back, hurt but not beaten. Blood dripped down her arm. You always did cheat, Tak, she said, her voice still calm. That's why you'll never be the commander I was. Enraged, Tak charged. This time, Ju didn't dodge. Instead, she stepped into his attack, taking another cut across her side. But now she was close enough. Her hands found the power source on his belt and ripped it free. Tak's energy sword died. His shield flickered out. For the first time, fear showed in his eyes. Ju held his power source, crushing it in her hand. Now we're even. The fight changed. Without his technology, Tak was still dangerous but no longer unstoppable. Ju landed blow after blow, driving him back. Her smaller size made her faster. Her years of hiding made her smarter. Finally, Tak lay on the ground, beaten. Ju stood over him, her foot on his chest. She could end him with one strike. Behind her, the doors opened. Minna ran out, followed by Agent Vuk and others. Ju, Minna called. Are you okay? Ju didn't look away from Tak. Her hand was raised for the final blow. This is what you used to do, right? Tak said, blood on his lips. Kill the enemy. Show no mercy. That's what you taught me. Juwoo's hand trembled. Yes, that's what I taught you. Minna stepped closer. Juwoo, that's not who you are now. For a long moment, no one moved. Then slowly, Juwoo lowered her hand. You're right, she said. That's not who I am now. But as she stepped back, Tak moved with sudden speed. A hidden blade flashed in his hand. He drove it toward Juwoo's heart. She caught his wrist just in time, twisting until the blade fell. But Tak's other hand grabbed her throat. They struggled, evenly matched now. I will not lose to a traitor, Tak snarled. With her last strength, Juwoo broke his grip and threw him back. Then don't, she gasped. Join me instead. Tak stared at her in confusion. What? Look around you, Tak, Juwoo said, pointing to the sky where the battle raged. Is this glory? Attacking a world that can barely defend itself. Is this what you dreamed of when we were young? Something flickered in Tak's eyes. Doubt. Jiwoo pressed on. We were both taken as children, made into weapons, but we can choose a different path. The Empire will kill me if I betray them, Tak said. Then help me stop them, Jiwoo said. She held out her hand. Not for conquest, for freedom. Tak looked at her outstretched hand. For a moment, it seemed he might take it. Then his face hardened again. Never, he spat, and pressed a device on his wrist. He vanished in a flash of light, teleported back to his ship. Alarms blared. On screens throughout the base, they saw Tak's command ship powering up its main weapons. He's going to bombard the planet, Agent Puck said in horror. No, Jiwoo said, her eyes fixed on the sky. He's running. Sure enough, Tak's fleet was pulling back, regrouping around his command ship. But the main weapon was still charging. One parting shot, Jiwoo realized. He'll destroy this base, then flee. Without another word, she ran to the resistance ship that had brought the blue-skinned captain. Her wounds still bled, but she ignored them. What are you doing? Minna called after her. Ending this, Jiwoo said. My way. As Tak's weapon reached full power, a small ship shot into the sky. Jiwoo, flying directly toward the command ship. Everyone watched in disbelief as she approached the massive vessel. She can't stop it alone, Director Kang said. But Jiwoo wasn't trying to destroy the ship. She was trying to board it. Using old command codes that Tak had never changed, she overrode the shields and landed in the main hangar. From there, she fought her way to the bridge. When the doors opened, Tak turned in shock. How? He began. You always were careless with security, Jiwoo said. Then she did something unexpected. She lowered her weapons and walked to the main console. On screens across Earth, people watched as every ship in Tak's fleet suddenly displayed the same message. Video recordings of planets burning, civilians dying, all under Tak's command. See what we've become. Jiwoo's voice echoed through the fleet. This isn't glory. This is shame. One by one, ships in Tak's fleet powered down their weapons. The soldiers had been told they were bringing order to a primitive world. Now they saw the truth. As Tak lunged for her one last time, Jiwoo finally delivered the blow she had held back before. He fell, defeated not just physically but completely. The Empire is over, she told him. At least here. 3 days later, Jiwoo returned to Hanbit High School. Students stared in awe as she walked the halls. Everyone had seen the videos now, knew who she really was. Do-hyun approached her at lunch. Can I sit here? He asked nervously. Jiwoo looked at him, then nodded. Sure. Minna joined them, smiling. How does it feel? Not hiding anymore. Jiwoo thought about it. Strange, but good. Outside the school, Agent Guk watched from his car. Earth was changed forever. Soon, representatives would meet with the resistance to join the wider galaxy. And at the center of it all was a girl who had once been the greatest conqueror in 3 star systems. Now she was just Jiwoo Kim, student at Hanbit High School, and Earth's protector.